My sister cheered, clapped when Dad slapped me before 60 people. So I made one quiet call. Please stay with me as I tell my story. And please, do not forget to support our channel by subscribing to our channel, liking our videos, and sharing your loved ones. Your support means the world to us. Now to our story. Poke. It was supposed to be the proudest moment of my life. I had worked so hard for it. Long nights, endless assignments, always pushing myself while everything around me at home was falling apart. Standing on stage, looking out at the crowd, I felt something close to peace. I held the mic, looked at my teachers, friends, and even my parents sitting in the front row. My heart was beating fast, not from fear, but from finally feeling seen. Then I saw him stand. My dad. His face was red, twisted in a way I'd seen before, back when I was younger and spilled juice on his work papers. But this wasn't home. This was my school, my graduation, the place where I had earned respect. I barely had time to move before he was up the steps, crossing the stage. And then the sound, the slap echoed across the gym. It silenced everything. I didn't fall, but I felt like I had been knocked down in every other way. 60 people, maybe more, just stared. No one said a word. The microphone picked up everything. The impact, my sharp inhale, the small thud of my speech papers falling. And then, I heard it. Clapping. Cheering. From my sister. She stood with a smile, as if someone had just announced her name as the winner of a game. She even gave a little whoop, as if the violence she witnessed, that we all witnessed, was entertainment. That was the moment everything inside me shifted. I didn't cry. I didn't run. I just stood there, holding my cheek, looking at her, at him, at everyone. My body was frozen, but my mind started moving quickly. This wasn't just a slap. It was a message. One that said, you don't belong here. You're not allowed to shine. I wasn't shocked that my dad hit me. He had a temper. But the setting, and her reaction, that was betrayal, pure and sharp. The teachers ushered him away. The principal took the mic. My name was skipped. They moved on like it was nothing. I walked off stage alone. No one asked if I was okay. Not even my mom. She sat frozen, lips tight, eyes low. But in my head, something was growing. A quiet, steady fire. I didn't scream. I didn't make a scene. I just kept replaying the look on my sister's face. And I made a decision. Not then, not loud, just quietly. But that was the day I started planning. Growing up in our house felt like walking on broken glass barefoot. Every word had to be chosen carefully, every movement calculated. My dad ruled the house like a king. Not the kind people admire, but the kind people fear. He needed control over everything. What we ate, how we dressed, even the way we laughed. He didn't like loud noises unless they came from him. He always made it clear who the favorite was. My sister. She could do anything and still be praised. If she got a B, it was at least she tried. If I got an A, it was why not an A+. The rules were different for each of us. She was allowed to stay out late, bring friends over, speak her mind. I was expected to be quiet, respectful, and perfect. My mom didn't say much. If anything at all. She stayed in the background, pretending she didn't see things. Her silence didn't protect me. It made things worse. When things got tense, she would leave the room or turn up the volume on the TV. I used to think she was scared. Later, I realized she had just given up. Whenever something went wrong, it was my fault. If dinner was late, somehow I caused it. If my sister broke something, I distracted her. My father never raised his voice at her the way he did at me. With her, he used soft words, small smiles. With me, it was hard eyes and harder hands. Despite everything, I still tried. I studied. I stayed out of trouble. I helped clean up the messes I didn't make. I kept hoping if I was good enough, things would change. But nothing I did was ever enough. My sister learned early how to twist things in her favor. She knew what to say and when to say it. If I defended myself, I was talking back. If she lied, it was just a joke. My father believed every word out of her mouth, no matter how cruel. And she knew it. It wasn't just about being ignored or blamed. It was the way they made me feel invisible, like I was only there to carry the weight of their moods. Like I existed just to take the hits, emotional or otherwise, so she didn't have to. By the time I was a teenager, I had stopped expecting fairness. I stayed out of the way. I kept my head down, but deep down I saw everything. I remembered every unfair punishment, every time I was left to take the blame. All of it built up inside me like pressure behind a wall. And pressure doesn't stay hidden forever. When I stood at the podium, I didn't plan to say anything that would cause a scene. I had written my speech carefully, the way I thought they wanted it, thanking teachers, classmates, and family, the usual stuff. But when I looked out into the crowd and saw them sitting there, something shifted. The paper in my hand suddenly felt useless. I folded it and put it in my pocket. Then I spoke from memory. I talked about working hard in silence, about how success sometimes comes from pain. I said, not every family claps for you. Some of them just want you quiet. But silence doesn't build strength, struggle does. The words came out smooth but sharp. I kept going. I said, We don't choose where we start, but we can choose where we go. Some of us come from homes full of secrets and rules built on fear. But even in those places, light finds a way through. That was it. Just enough to sound like wisdom, but the message was clear to anyone who really listened. And my dad heard it. He knew exactly what I meant. He had always cared about his image. To the outside world, he was a well-dressed, polite man who paid the bills and spoke with authority. No one saw the way he controlled us behind closed doors. He told us often, "No one needs to know what happens in this house." And we listened, or we paid for it. So when I said what I said, even without names, even without details, he saw it as a threat. I hadn't told his secrets, but I had shown the cracks. I had pulled back the curtain just enough for people to start wondering. And to him, that was betrayal. After the slap, people whispered, confused. Teachers looked at each other, unsure what to do. One of the school staff stepped forward, but he waved them off. My mom stayed in her seat. My sister kept smirking. Later that evening, he tried to act like nothing happened. He told my mom she was being dramatic, embarrassing the family. He didn't apologize. He never does. But the damage was done, not just to me, but to his perfect mask. Parents and staff began asking questions. Some even called the school board. A few neighbors looked at our house differently after that, and he knew it. He had spent years building a wall around his reputation. I hadn't broken it. I just made a small crack. But sometimes that's all it takes. The same night everything happened, my sister posted a video. It was a short clip, but it showed everything. My dad stepping onto the stage, his hands swinging, my head turning from the force. The sound was clear. Her caption read, "When your sibling gets too full of themselves, face with tears of joy, clapping hands." It got shared fast. First it was her friends, then it spread to classmates, and soon strangers were commenting. Some thought it was fake. Others joked about it. A few people defended me, but their voices were drowned out by the laughing emojis, the memes, the cruel messages. She thought it was funny. She even showed it at a house party the following weekend. Someone who was there told me she played the video on a loop, laughing every time the slap landed. People around her laughed too, like it was a comedy skit, not real life. Not her own brother being hit in front of a crowd. She didn't care. To her, it was just another way to get attention. She always wanted the spotlight. If she wasn't the center of the room, she felt invisible. And now, she found a new way to be seen, by stepping on me. When I confronted her, she shrugged. "It's just a joke. Don't be so sensitive." But her smile said something else. She was proud. She had taken something painful and used it to entertain others, to get likes, comments, attention. And worst of all, approval from our dad. He didn't punish her. Of course not. If anything, he liked that she made me look weak. That's what he wanted all along. To keep me down. To remind me who had the power. She just helped him do it. She never once asked how I felt. Never offered to take the video down. Never said sorry. Instead, she kept acting like I deserved it, like I had brought it on myself by speaking the truth. She even joked to a cousin. He finally got what was coming to him. That stuck with me. It wasn't just the slap. It wasn't just the video. It was the choice she made. She could have stayed quiet. She could have stood up for me, but she didn't. She celebrated my pain, turned it into content, and laughed while I was left to deal with the fallout. She thought she won, but she didn't know I was watching, remembering, planning. Quietly, after graduation, everything got worse. The video kept spreading. People at school looked at me differently, some with pity, some with amusement. A few avoided me completely. I stopped checking my phone. I didn't want to see the comments. I didn't want to feel the weight of it all again. At home, it was no better. My dad acted like it never happened. He gave orders like always, expected me to follow them without question. My mom stayed quiet. My sister walked around like a winner, smirking every time she passed me in the hallway. The house felt colder, even in the middle of summer. I stopped eating regularly. I couldn't sleep. Some nights I just stared at the ceiling, wondering how I got here. I had done everything right. Good grades. No trouble. I stayed out of the way. And still, somehow, I became the enemy in my own home. Then came the final hit. One night, I came home from the library. I'd been trying to stay out just to breathe. When I walked in, my dad was waiting. He didn't yell. He didn't explain. He just tossed a small bag toward me, my clothes stuffed carelessly. He said, "Find somewhere else to stay. You've embarrassed this family enough." That was it. No discussion. No goodbye. I slept on a friend's couch that night. The next day, I stayed in the park for hours, thinking. Everything inside me felt broken. My mind kept repeating the same question. Why me? What did I do wrong? But then something shifted. I stopped asking why. Instead, I started thinking about how to take back control, how to make sure they felt the weight of what they had done. Not with violence, not with yelling, but with something they'd never expect, silence and strategy. I remembered things, quiet details they thought I hadn't noticed, secrets they told in passing, mistakes they made when they thought no one was paying attention. and I started writing them down. Names, dates, patterns, all of it. No more tears, no more waiting. I wasn't going to play the victim anymore. I wasn't going to explain myself to people who only wanted me silent. I had nothing left to lose. And in a way that made me dangerous, not loud, not wild, but focused. They had pushed me out thinking they won. They thought I'd disappear. They were wrong. It was a Tuesday afternoon. No noise. No drama. Just me, sitting alone in a small public library with a borrowed laptop and a pair of cheap headphones. I opened a new tab, searched for a number, and stared at it for a moment. Then I clicked call. The voice on the other end was calm, professional. I told them my name, my age, and my situation. I explained everything clearly. No emotion, no shaking voice. I had already cried enough. This wasn't about feelings now. This was about facts. They asked for details. I gave them names, dates, places. I told them about what went on in the house, the things people didn't see, the things no one believed. I explained the patterns, the control, the fear, the silence. I even told them about the slap, not the video, but the years before it that led to that moment. They listened. They asked for evidence. I had some. Not much, but enough to start. Screenshots, photos, notes I'd kept over the years. Small things, but when put together, they told a clear story. The call lasted less than an hour, but it changed everything. I didn't tell anyone what I did. I didn't warn my family. I didn't leave hints. I didn't try to explain. They had their fun, their control, their fake smiles. They thought they were untouchable. That call wasn't just a report. It was a signal, a quiet move in a long game they didn't even know had started. A few days later, I got a message back. They were moving forward. Quietly, of course. That's how these things work. Interviews, home visits, record requests, background checks. Not all at once, but one by one, piece by piece. My dad wouldn't see it coming. He was too sure of himself, too focused on his reputation. He never thought someone like me would fight back. My sister would probably laugh at first, until she saw the fallout. My mom, she would pretend to be shocked, but deep down she'd know. I didn't do it for revenge. Not fully. I did it to take back power, to stop the silence, to remind them that every action has a cost. They thought pushing me out meant I'd stay gone, but I wasn't gone. I was just quiet, and sometimes the quiet ones are the most dangerous. All it took was one call. It started small. A letter showed up at the house. My dad thought it was nothing. He opened it and froze. It wasn't junk mail. It wasn't a bill. It was from the state. A formal notice. Something about an open investigation. He kept it quiet at first, but I had people watching. They told me he made phone calls that same night. Long ones. Angry ones. Then came the visit. 2 people knocked on the door a few days later. Not police, not yet, but official enough to scare him. They asked questions. About the house. About me. About how things were handled. He tried to act calm, but his face gave him away. He wasn't used to being questioned. After that, more letters came. Then phone calls. Then meetings he didn't talk about. His work started noticing too. He had always bragged about his clean record, his leadership, his perfect image. But now people were asking things. HR got involved. His boss pulled him aside. Rumors started spreading. Someone saw him pack up his office early one morning. My sister wasn't safe either. The video she thought was so funny started to turn. Someone reposted it with a new caption. Not a joke this time, but a call-out. This is what abuse looks like, it said. More people shared it, but now they weren't laughing. They were angry. They tagged her school, her sponsors, her job. Some of them responded, quietly but seriously. Her scholarship got reviewed. One of her programs dropped her. She tried to clean it up, delete the video, say it was taken out of context. But it was too late. The internet remembers. And now people saw her for who she really was. Then came the real surprise. My mom got called in. She wasn't ready for it. She had spent her life avoiding attention. But this time she couldn't hide. A subpoena came in the mail. She had to answer questions under oath. No more silence. No more pretending. People were watching now. Her choice was simple. Tell the truth or face the fallout. They all looked shaken. The house that once stood firm was starting to crack. And the best part? I didn't lift a finger after that first call. The truth moved on its own. I just gave it a push. Now it was rolling fast, breaking everything they built online. One by one, the dominoes were falling. She stood on stage just like I had. Dressed perfectly, hair done, smiling at the crowd. It was her turn now. A college event, something about leadership and student success. She had been chosen to speak, to share her story. She started strong, voice steady, acting like the star she always believed she was. Then someone from the crowd stood up. It was quiet at first. Just a voice saying, "Isn't that the girl from the video?" Heads turned. Someone else whispered, "Yeah, that's her." The screen at the side of the room, meant to show her slides, suddenly lit up with something else. The video. The same one she had posted months ago. The slap. Her clapping. Her caption. All of it. It wasn't supposed to be there. She froze. The crowd did too. No one laughed. No one clapped. It wasn't funny anymore. Not with everything that had come out. Not with the investigation now public. People saw it for what it was. A girl celebrating someone else's pain. Her brother's pain. She tried to speak. The mic caught her stammering. She looked off stage, hoping someone would fix it. No one moved. The room was still heavy. All eyes were on her, but not in the way she wanted. There were no smiles, just disappointment. A professor stood and walked out. 2 others followed. Students looked at each other, unsure if they should stay. Her voice cracked. She said it was a mistake, that she didn't mean it, that people were twisting things, but no one believed her. She left the stage without finishing. No applause. No handshake. No respect. Outside, someone recorded her crying near the parking lot. That video spread too. Not to mock her, but as a lesson. A warning. Be careful who you hurt. The truth always finds a way. She stayed out of sight after that. Her name was removed from the school site. The award she was supposed to get was quietly passed to someone else. Her reputation, once polished and loud, was now quiet, in the worst way. She had spent so long laughing at others, never thinking the day would come when the joke turned around. But it did. And just like that, the spotlight she loved became the one thing she couldn't escape. For once, she knew how it felt, to be the one everyone watched. But not with pride, with shame. They didn't expect me to come back. It was a quiet afternoon when I knocked on the door. No warning, no message, just me, standing where they had once pushed me out. My dad opened it, surprised. His face changed fast from shock to anger, but he stepped aside. I walked in. My mom was sitting in her usual spot, staring at nothing. My sister stood near the stairs, arms crossed, eyes red. No one said anything at first. I didn't rush. I looked at each of them. Calm. Steady. My dad spoke first. You ruined this family. His voice was sharp, but weaker than I remembered. He looked smaller now, tired. He started listing excuses. Said I was emotional. Said I misunderstood. Tried to twist the story, like always. I let him talk. When he stopped, I said, "You showed me who you were. Now the world sees it too." He didn't answer. Then my sister stepped forward. "I didn't mean for it to go this far," she said. Her voice was shaky. She looked at me like she expected mercy. "I was just joking. I was just trying to be funny." I nodded once. "And now you're living the punchline." She started crying, but I didn't move. I didn't comfort her. Not this time. My mom still hadn't said a word. I turned to her last. "You saw everything," I said. "And you chose silence." She blinked slowly, but said nothing. I didn't need her words anymore. I wasn't there for revenge. I wasn't there to scream. I had already done what I came to do. I had already taken back control, not with hate, but with truth. Now they had to live with it. I left them with their choices, their consequences, their own reflections. I stood up to leave. Before I reached the door, I paused. "I'm not broken. Not anymore," I said. "You can keep your house. I've built something better, with honesty, with peace, and without fear." Then I walked out. The door closed behind me. I didn't look back. I live in a different city now. It's quieter here. The streets are slower, the people kinder. I work a job that I like. It doesn't pay much yet, but it's mine. I wake up early, make my own coffee, and open the windows just to feel the air. Some mornings, I sit outside with a book and let the sun hit my face. It's simple. It's enough. I've made new friends. Real ones. They don't ask about my past unless I choose to share it. They don't judge or compare. They just listen. We laugh over silly things. We talk about plans, not pain. Around them, I don't feel small. I don't feel like a problem. I feel human. I still carry the past with me. The memories don't vanish. Some nights, I still dream of the old house. Of voices raised, of cold stares, of the weight I used to carry alone. But when I wake up, I remind myself, I'm not there anymore. That life can't reach me here. What I did wasn't about revenge. Not really. It was about taking back my story. About standing up, even if my voice shook. It was about reminding myself that I have worth, even when others tried to take it away. The pain didn't break me. It shaped me. Now I walk without fear. I speak without waiting for permission. I laugh without looking over my shoulder. That's what freedom feels like. Not just safety, but peace. Not just escape, but choice. One evening, I walked to the edge of a small lake near my apartment. The sun was setting, and everything was gold. I sat on a bench, pulled out my phone, and looked at the screen. So many messages. Missed calls. Some from old classmates. Some even from my mother. I stared at it for a moment. Then I turned the phone off. Not because I was angry, but because I didn't need it. Not tonight. Not in this moment. I stood, took a deep breath, and walked toward the fading light. No baggage, no fear, just forward, into a life I chose.